Hey Guru Nation, welcome back to another episode. I'm here at one of the offices working, or at least pretending to work. But I've got David from all the way from Montreal. You can tell by the Montreal Canadiens. Very
Right.
proud of this. For those watching in the future, maybe they won the Stanley Cup, or maybe they lost. We don't know because that's the future. But
Not
you,
a good way to get this started, Dan.
all right. Let's hope they're gonna win. Who are they playing?
Tampa Bay Lightning.
Oh yeah, I have no dog in the fight. Let's go Montreal. Let's go Montreal. I'm rooting with you, David. Okay, so David, why don't you introduce yourself, the company you work for? We're gonna try to get you featured on Latinos in Clinical Research on the Tech series. Um, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do, and then we'll get into your background, how you get started in research, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Dan. So my name is David Kovac. I'm an account executive on the sales team with Montreal. We are a life sciences tech company, and we are laser focused on providing smaller sponsors and CROs with the core tools that they need to manage their trial master file, all their regulated content really, in a way that's affordable and scalable as they grow.
I get this question a lot. I want to focus more on your background, but
Sure.
I get this question a lot from people. Hey, I have a job interview. What is
Mhm.
a trial master file? Have you developed like an easy way to explain this?
That's a great question. So the trial master file, we like to say, is really the story of everything that unfolds during the clinical trial, which the sponsor is, of course, responsible for whenever a regulator, an auditor comes knocking. How's that?
I like that answer a lot. Now,
Story of the
Right.
trial.
So I want to hear it.
story of a trial. Chris wants to hear. He's gonna have to watch it. Where
Yeah,
it's a
come on, Chris.
story, Chris.
Okay.
It involves storytelling.
All
But
right.
I like that because that's memorable, and I think it's a good way to explain it. Now, for those who don't know just
Mhm.
how time consuming this is, because
Sure.
Chris and I have the headphones in, he can't hear you, but Chris and I were talking to another sponsor or like a smaller, like investigator initiated sponsor today.
I took
Mhm.
this question just yesterday on what is a trial master file.
Right, right. So they have no idea, and I'm wearing the headphones because I don't want the echo from David's computer.
Sure.
But some of these, there's people who have no idea the amount of work that goes into maintaining a TMF, trial master file system. Can you
Right.
give us just some examples of the nightmare that is to manage this?
So you would be shocked, Dan and Chris, at how many sponsors and on the biotech side, on the CRO side, who are still paper-based in their operations. And so I'm talking like wet ink, paper signatures, having things in binders and stacks of paper. And maybe for a phase one study with a handful of patients, it's manageable. But as your clinical programs grow, it really becomes, and as they grow, through different geographies, we're talking about sites in different states or countries, it becomes unmanageable. And so when you think about the thousands of documents that that you're responsible for keeping, ideally in a specific format, in a way where you can easily retrieve documents,
Yeah.
it becomes very, very overwhelming. And so
And give
we're
them
seeing.
idea, like what kind of documents? Like we're talking everything, right? Everything.
Yeah, monitoring visitor reports, 1572s, medical licenses for your PIs, every single part of the protocol, that every action that takes place in clinical research, if it's not documented, it didn't happen, right?
Basically
So
everything except a source document that's being used
exactly, no
for the
patient
study.
data. It's the outcomes of all of the clinical processes throughout the study, I would say.
I like that. Follow-up letters, confirmation letters, all that
Exactly.
stuff. So to learn more about David's company and organization, tune into Latinos in Clinical Research because we're going to feature them, do a demo. We're going to go in depth on this stuff, but I wanted to get into a little bit as we wrap up here, your background. How does
Yeah.
one, how does a guy from Montreal even land into this world of trial master files?
Great question. So I work in sales, so I didn't really have the traditional career path, maybe like the science background that a lot of your listeners maybe have, but I just follow my what I'm passionate about, and so I come from working in sales at a retail technology background. Was really interested in that for a few years, and then this opportunity came up with Montreal, a local smaller vendor changing the game in terms of how clinical research is done and enabling sponsors and CROs to collaborate better. And I just jumped at the opportunity because I had very little experience. I started my career working with an internship actually at Novartis. I worked in their
Oh
ophthalmology
wow.
business unit. Yeah.
You
So I
see
worked on
internships,
things.
guys. Internship. Chris
Intern.
was asking a good question. I should ask you.
Yeah.
Do you guys work primarily with Canadian sites or U.S. sites or just anywhere in the world?
So we work primarily with not so much sites, Dan, but really sponsors
No
and
sponsors, I meant.
CROs.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Mostly in the US, as half our
Okay.
business is in the US and the other half is in Europe.
Mostly in the U.S.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's it's a. What are the main pain points of these clients that come to you? The pharma, the CROs, the
Mhm.
biotechs. First of all, who is your
Yeah,
main client? Like, what type is it? A CRO, a small biotech, or a big pharma?
it's really the small biotech. And when I say
Mm,
small, I mean the 10 to around 250, 500 person biotech,
hmm.
who really, like I said, needs a lot of these core tools just to collaborate. The same tools that we use in our everyday lives, like Google Drive, they need that. People expect that ease of use in how they're collaborating on these documents. So, um, what are some of the challenges? I mean, look, signing off on documents, approving documents electronically in a 21 CFR Part 11 compliant way seems basic to you and I, but it's a challenge for people if they don't have a DocuSign or an Adobe Sign
Right.
that's validated. So that's a challenge. We've seen a lot of people move towards these types of tools, especially in the last year and a half. The other thing I would say is sponsor CRO collaboration. So the outsourcing model is alive and well. I don't have to tell you, but unless you have the most unless you're working with Dan CRO, who is very proactive at sending your reports and keeping you up to date with what's happening in the TMF, there's still a pretty big gap in terms of oversight. And so we've seen a lot of sponsors actually, put an eTMF in place at their company and then invite their CRO to work within their system. So it really gives the sponsor that added level of oversight and
Yeah.
the ability to be proactive in communicating with the CRO. Hey, what's going on? I see that, such and such document is overdue. And so a lot more, it elevates inspection readiness. It elevates the oversight that the sponsor has. So that's another issue that we've seen.
And definitely easier said than done, but it's perfect. I love the small biotech. Small is the new big.
Mhm,
This is why Chris and I and a few others on the clinical research circle analyze some of these small cap biotechs because
mhm.
first of all, they're interesting. Second of all, the stock moves a lot based on different catalysts
Oh
and
yeah.
events. And then lastly, that's where I like the opportunities are for Guru Nation, for people watching, even for David and his organization. So what do you think the future holds for TMF or companies like yours?
That's a great question. So a really hot topic that we're seeing come up is in many different industries is how does AI and machine learning apply to clinical research in the trial master file? And we're starting to see whisperings of helping to classify documents automatically, helping just maintain your file structure. Um, I mean, we're seeing just the points of field, which is not easy when you look at the regulatory side of things. So that's I would say is one thing to look out for. The other is just better standardization. So we have the TMF DIA reference model to go by. How many organizations out there are following that reference model, are prepared, when an auditor comes knocking. So I would say that, elevating the standardization and educating people as to these best practices is something that's going to improve a lot over the next few years.
Love it. Love the answers, David. To learn more about David and his organization, tune into Latinos in Clinical Research YouTube channel and subscribe to the email list so you don't miss out on the live tech series. I appreciate it, David. I'm sure we've helped a few people out with the questions on TMFs and just made this topic a little more interesting for people because it's a growing area of research and we gotta be educated. We gotta be informed. So thank you, David. I appreciate it. And thank you everybody for watching and listening. Links to David's LinkedIn underneath the video and in the show notes. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.